Okay, well, we do have Rick on the phone now. So.
Oh, well, we just gave away his name.
Yep.
His first name, anyway. I've been reading for the last, year or so, just a gloriously snarky website called Thoughts on the Dead. It's a blog that's run by this guy that we're about to talk to. And the subtitle on the top of the page is Musings on the Most Ridiculous Band I Can't Stop Listening to. So, welcome to the show, Rick.
How are you? David, Gary, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. What a great week.
It's nice to meet you by voice. Gary is not with us. He's off doing something else unrelated, so I have you all to myself here.
Oh, I thought it was the two of you. Hey, David, how are you? It is nice to talk to you finally.
Yeah, very good. I've been reading your blog for a while. Who are you? Where did you get the idea to do this? And what is the source of your inside info and your amazingly bad attitude?
Thank you. The terrifying thing is I think a lot of this came from Motley Crue.
I beg your pardon?
Yes, Motley Crue led to this blog. If you read the book about Motley Crue, the rock book about Motley Crue called The Dirt, you will notice it's a lot like Long Strange Trip by Dennis McNally. It hits the exact same beats. And I realized while listening to The Dead, while listening to this unbelievably beautiful music, that these men were very silly. And it had to be pointed out. And they were actually just like all the other rock stars, except for some reason we thought they were burning incense and being kind and being wonderful. No, they were just getting up to such ridiculous nonsense. And it just makes me happy to think of the things they were doing at hotels while listening to, say, playing in the band from 78, which I shut off to listen to you, for example.
Okay.
The blog is really, you have to have listened to 3 shows in the Dead in a day and said, well, why did I not listen to 4? Oh, I didn't have the time. It's for that kind of enthusiast. It's for someone who knows what kind of sports car Phil used to drive and yet has lost their keys 4 times in one day.
And yet what?
And yet has lost their car keys 4 times in one day.
Well, you're not old enough.
That's the kind of information.
You're only 40 years old, man. You're not old enough to have lost your car keys that many times.
I have lost my car keys while driving in the car, turned around to go home to find them, only to realize, well, the car's moving. I have to have it. I didn't start off as a bright man, and I didn't do things that helped my brain along the way.
In case you're wondering, listeners, the place that we're talking about is a blog called thoughtsonthedead.wordpress.com, and you can go read it almost any time. I have to confess that I have slipped some photos to our friend here to post with for caption contests just for the fun of watching what people say. And it does attract a certain level of snark and some kind of unpleasant stuff, but mostly I find it really, really good-natured snark and really loving when all is said and done, I have to say.
It does. I mean, I try to keep the negative stuff. There is so little silliness, but I try to keep the negative stuff off because at the end of the day, I'm putting on another show after I stop listening to this show. At the end of the day, I'm going to Chicago. At the end of the day, I'm wearing a damn Dead shirt. I love these guys. They're really good. They make a lovely sound. But, they're just goofy as heck.
Yeah. So, and how did you get to be so deeply entwined in it? You're young enough that you probably didn't get to see very many shows with Jerry in them.
I saw 5 shows. That is absolutely, it just barely makes me an ace. I have actually never listened to the shows that I went to. I listened to one Wharf Rat from a Giant Stadium in 95. Enthusiasts will know how they played in 95. God bless them. God bless Jerry. It was 95. So I've never even listened to that. And maybe I have a different opinion on the Dead and say, you started going, when was your first show? I read this and I was so impressed.
Who, me? 1972, yeah. And I'm just a kid, man.
Exactly.
My wife saw him 4 years before I did.
There. And did your wife tell you that they were not as good as they used to be?
No, but that's one of those things,
Never more happier than telling someone, they're not good.
I remember a really good friend of mine in 1979 saying, well, it was really kind of all over when Pigpen died. And I said, well, why do you keep going? And he stopped going to shows after that. So, go ahead.
I actually had a longtime deadhead tell me that they were never as good after Dana Borges left. Which that is a level of snobbishness that's impressive.
That is completely made up snobbishness. That is a pretty funny attitude to have.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things. Everybody who got on this bus loves the Grateful Dead that they first heard. That was the one they liked the best, and I'm totally that way. It was Europe '72. It was that material. It was the band with Keith Godchaux in his prime, and they were just completely committed to this thing, and they were making huge amounts of magic every night, and it was as charismatic as anything I'd ever seen in my life. And I stuck with it through all those changes, and it became a different band over the years. And then, it got to a point, as Jerry was declining in the 90s, it would get to be, there would be like arguments over it. People didn't want to hear it. How dare you? It's still perfect. So there's plenty to snark about, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's a lot to say, and there's a lot of kind of dogma in the Deadhead world, and there's a lot of stuff you're not supposed to say, and this is all silliness. We're here because we love the band. Everybody's allowed to have a different opinion on it. There really aren't any facts. It's music. It's just an opinion. Do you like it? Do you not? It's not objectively good or bad. Someone who likes stuff from the 80s is not objectively less correct than someone who likes stuff from the 70s. They are less correct, but it's okay.
We're entitled to our opinions of those people.
Yeah.
We have to be generous and kind to them because they don't know what they missed.
At the end of the day, we're all in the same family. And, here's a horrible thing, right? Speaking from people... Yes.
No, go.
Speaking from people on the couch, and I can talk about the show from last night. From the view from the couch, which is where I saw it, the audio folks, the video folks, everyone who put that together from Peter Shapiro on down, and I'm not doing this to kiss ass, everyone who did that did such an incredible job. Forget about what was on the stage, and what was on the stage was great. Everyone who did the technical stuff, everyone who delivered that to our houses, thank you for that. It was absolutely perfect.
All right. Well, we're about to find out here in Indy because we're going to be watching the stream right down here in this bar that I'm sitting in. You often traffic in what I consider to be fairly knowing rumor mongering on your blog. You seem to have some hooks into the near circle, if not the inner circle. Where do you get your info, man?
First of all, I can never tell. Second of all, Philly.
I beg your pardon?
Philly calls. Philly has my number. Yes, he just calls and complains. I have absolutely David Gans, the legendary David Gans, the great friend of the dead, David Gans, are the closest I've ever gotten to the Grateful Dead. I have no inside sources. I have nothing. I have the literature, as we are calling these silly rock books, and I have a basic knowledge of human nature, and if you read between the lines in Billy's book. That's all there is. It's basic. You got to remember, these guys have been having the same arguments for 45 years.
Yeah, I've been on the periphery of some of that. That's one of the things about it. It seems like you have a fairly good handle on the dynamic, even though you've never been anywhere near them.
I think that actually helps me more. My version of the Grateful Dead in my head is like the version of the Harlem Globetrotters that they ran into in Scooby-Doo. It's a cartoon. And the laws of cartoon physics apply to my Grateful Dead. But, it's based in actual who they are. They are interesting characters. They fit in these weird little roles in the band that it seems like they still play after 50 years. And, these are 7-year-old grandfathers now. They're different human beings. They've gone through changes that you can't believe. And it seems like some of their relationships are still stuck in, Bobby just got out of high school, which is hilarious on one level.
Well, and that's true too. I've observed that over the years that each of those guys has sort of a public persona that isn't necessarily that who they are really, but it's close enough that you can match them up. But the audience kind of invested all of these things. I mean, like, over the years in the 80s and the 90s, the whole cheesy Bobby thing just drove me apeshit. Because, what did it mean? Because he wore pink T-shirts, who cares? He's an amazing guitar player, and unlike any other guitar player, and yet there was this whole stratum of the Deadhead subculture that was like, oh, Bobby, he's so cheesy. I don't even know what that means, but it drove me nuts.
No, sometimes you will often notice in nonconformist circles the sheer amount of conformity. Bobby was doing something a little bit different than everyone else. He was wearing the Madonna shirts. And second of all, he was hot. Let him wear the shorts. Third of all, if anyone on that stage is going to wear shorts, let it be the guy who works out.
Yeah, good point. Very
Bobby
good.
I did not understand the whole Bobby thing. It almost to me seemed like it was cutting down Bobby in order to prop up Kerry, who was at the time.
Good point. Just in case you just tuned in, friends, I am talking with the author of a gloriously snarky blog called thoughtsonthedead.wordpress.com. And I also want to bring Andrew Brass in to tell everybody that we're now ready. We've done the New York giveaway, and now it's time to give away tickets for the San Francisco viewings.
That's right. If you can be in San Francisco next week and want to watch all 3 nights in the movie theater, now's the time to call. It's 888-897-4748. So
we're giving away 5 pairs of passes to see the broadcasts from Chicago in a theater in San Francisco. You have to get yourself to the theater. This does not include transportation or nothing. It's just admission to the venue.
What he said.
And all of you everywhere else in the don't be talking to me now, Andrew. Answer the phone, man. You're all of you all over the country. There are theaters in various places. I haven't seen a list of them, but if you go to fathomevents.com or dead50.net, you will find a list of theaters. And if there's one near you and you want to go watch this thing in a movie theater with a bunch of other crazy people, you can do that. Or you can watch it at home through expensive pay-per-view. Or you can go to a bar and watch it with a bunch of other people, which is what I'm doing this evening in Indianapolis. I'm at 1001 Food and Drink downstairs in the vault. That's at 1001 Broad Ripple Avenue in Indianapolis. And starting at 6 o'clock after this broadcast, we're going to have live music. And then at 9, we're going to be piping in the broadcast from Santa Clara. And then I'll get to see and hear what all this is all about. So, Rick?
Yes, sir.
You still there?
I'm still
put you to sleep or anything. Tell me a story.
Yes, about?
I don't know. I'm just killing time with you on the air, so entertain me.
Okay. Well, can we talk about last night's show?
Sure. I didn't hear it, so I'm going to rely on your opinion.
All right, here's the review. Highs, lows. Mickey is the secret hero. Mickey killed it last night. Unbelievably killed it. What they did, I had heard Mickey say something a while ago. Why are we playing the exact same drum kit? Why are we doing the exact same thing? What's the point of having 2 drummers doing the exact same thing? And he kind of put that new idea into practice last night. He had what looked like every drum in the Western Hemisphere on stage. If he had played everyone, we would still be here doing drums. They actually... Bobby at one point walked up to him and started talking to him during drums.
Really?
But Mickey killed it with the thumb piano last night. The drums was one of the highlights. The whole second set was a highlight. Phil sang a lot. And the rest of it was really special. You know what? They are definitely getting the kinks out. But the one thing I thought, Trey Anastasio stood in front of his mirror when he was a teenager playing the solo to Morning Dew. You know he did. He had to. And he did it last night at a football stadium full of people leading the Grateful Dead. If you don't like that, you don't like rock and roll, you don't like humanity. That's all there is to it.
That's great. Well, I was somebody who thought that Trey was a great call. for this gig, because he very clearly understands how this music works, and he has a very strong instrumental voice of his own. And the last thing I think they wanted in that spot was an obedient Jerry copy guy. I wanted a guy who speaks the language, knows the music, and has things to say of his own. So I think he was a great call, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. I'm glad he can say good things.
No, Trey he absolutely killed it. And I've been with you. I've been saying since the beginning, Trey was the only guy. I mean, I guess they could have sold out a couple amphitheaters with a fake Jerry, but if you want to make it an event, you get Trey. And he took it seriously. He was killing it last night. If anything, I think he should step forward a little bit more, which, maybe is not going to happen. Maybe, that's just not the dynamic of the band that it is right now. But he absolutely killed it. Anyone who still thinks, Trey's not going to do it, they didn't see the show, or they saw it through Steve Kimmick's colored glasses. Steve Kimmick is a genius. He's a lovely man. But this band that has Trey Anastasio in it, whose name I've got right now.
I'm really looking forward to hearing what other callers have to say when we're able to open the phones here, because I tend to what you say seems pretty consistent with what I was expecting him to do. How about Hornsby? Some people said that there wasn't enough of Hornsby in the mix.
There was not a ton of Hornsby, nor was there a ton of Jeff Gementi. The keyboardists were kind of low down in the mix. Hornsby did not, when you could hear him, he didn't really seem to know where to fit in quite yet. Some places he took charge. He definitely took charge in, I think it was the Dark Star. No, it was the 11. And when they went to the 11, he took charge for about 2 or 3 minutes of the whole jam, and that was great. Gementi actually seemed at a couple points like he wanted to come out roaring and show everyone how powerful he was, and then how Jeff Gementi he was. But then he realized, he was the last of the 7 guys on the poster, and maybe he shouldn't be leading the band. It seemed like he pulled himself back from the precipice a couple times. But yeah, a little bit more keyboardists would have been good.
Well, I've had conversations with Bruce.
4 or 5 more keyboardists.
Or what?
4 or 5 more keyboardists. Yeah.
Well, that's the Phil Spector approach. That's an entirely different wall of sound.
Yeah.
But I've had this conversation with Bruce Hornsby a couple times over the years where he has the wisdom to know when not to play. And if things get really busy, he'll back off, rather than stacking stuff up too high, which is a smart musical, in conversational music like this, you want to be sure you don't dominate the rap. Maybe he's hoping that things will, fold back a little bit and leave some room for him to step forward, and maybe there's more for him to do tonight. Do you have a sense that they're going chronologically through the repertoire? That was all old songs last night.
There was, I think we figured this out. Some other people smarter than me figured this out. The latest song last night was Truckin', which came out in 70, and everything before that was like April 69 was the latest anything came out. So, yeah, it was a real old set list, and apparently there is someone who knows the set list that is leaking it online, and I'm not even going to mention anything other about that. I don't want to know what the set is tonight, but I think it is going to be a lot later. Yeah. It appears they're doing some sort of retrospective, which is great, but yeah, I don't want to hear the set list. I think that's kind of terrible.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, but, just tell me first. And they usually make fun of people who yell about spoilers, but I'm yelling about spoilers. Don't tell me what the next song is.
I never want to know. In fact, I got all annoyed with people who wanted to have, betting pools to figure out what the first song was going to be and all that stuff. And I always wanted this stuff to be a surprise. The more predictable it got, the less interesting it got. So why would I want to know ahead of time where they're going?
We did have an over-under going on the drums last night, though.
And?
Yeah, the point was set at 25 minutes, and they came in at something like 18:30, 19. So the under won.
How much did you win?
I'm down. I took the over. I saw the theremin, and I figured we'd be there for at least 45 minutes.
Yeah,
we were 12 minutes in. He hadn't even touched the beam. We were 12 minutes in. I figured we were in there for the long haul.
Did he finally get to the beam?
He actually did not get to the bean last night. No.
Well, I suppose on a certain level it's enough just to be bringing it along. Just to have it there and pointing it at people is probably just as good as deploying it.
That's true, but if you were the roadie who had to carry that thing and then he didn't play it, it would be cranky.
As long as you get...
No, we've got about, we've probably got about 100 minutes of drums in the next 5 days. Yeah, I definitely think they'll get to it. But yeah, last night he did not get to it.
All right. I'm talking with Rick, whose last name I'm not going to tell you, who's in South Florida. He's the author of a delightfully snarky blog called thoughtsonthedead.wordpress.com. And Andrew, are we finished with the giveaway yet?
So Shayna is giving away the last pair. So if you want to call to talk, now would be a good time to start doing that.
Rick, I'm going to give you the boot so that I can listen to other people's opinions of the show. Thank you so much for calling in and shooting the shit with me for the beginning of the program.
Thank you, David. I will see you soon. Thank you, man.
Thoughtsonthedead.wordpress.com. It is required reading if you have an open mind about this stuff. Thanks again, Rick.
Thank you, David.